Hey everyone, welcome to the Naughty Shaman podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Carlisle, and I can't wait to dive in to a world where the sacred meets the wild and keeps things totally real. In each episode, we are going to dive into what it truly means to live a radiant life that is unapologetically real. And if you're ready to get started, so am I. Hello, all you luminous warriors out there. This is Natalie Carlisle coming at you live from the Naughty Shaman podcast. Our HQ today is in Delaware, and I'm looking out at the marshes, and I'm really excited to share this podcast with you. And I want to tell you a little bit about what this podcast is going to be about. We're going to be talking a little bit more about self-worth and a sense of value because there are so many clients that I am working with one-on-one that are struggling with this issue of how they add value in the world, and is it valuable who they are? And this is a question that can present profound difficulty in someone's life when you're unsure of how you add value, or even if you add value to the world around you. And it stems from this idea of the dominant culture, or the way it should be, the way you get a sense of how your life should be, should have been, or needs to be in order to get love and support and validation. So when we bump up against that, so many of these people that I'm working with are naughty shamans. They're going against what the dominant culture says is valuable. And they're daring and courageous because they're having the sense of self enough to say, but these are my values. And they're different than I see around me. They're different than my neighbors. They're different than my parents. They're different than my culture. And this can really do a number on our self-confidence when we embrace values that are different from the culture that surrounds us. And so this podcast is going to be very helpful for you if you've ever experienced that, if you've ever had a sense of, gosh, I just don't fit in. I don't sound like the people around me. And now I'm questioning the value I add, my own worthiness. Then this podcast is going to help you see things a little bit differently. Some people can go through this experience of life and be a naughty shaman, be a little counterculture in their way they access spirituality and value and values in the world. And they can go through feeling counterculture and have no problem with that. Their confidence stays intact. It actually boosts their confidence because they have a strong sense of self and who they are, even if it's different than the people around them. And that doesn't seem to bother them. And then there are people that struggle with this idea of, gosh, I really want to feel a sense of belonging. I don't know if I have tribe. And I question if I have a sense of worth in the world at all, because everyone around me is doing something completely different, valuing things that are completely different. And so I have a case study for you that I'd like to share. So this case study is a one-on-one client of mine, and I've known her for years. And I'm telling you, if you met this woman on the street, she has started her own business, traveled around the world, has a lovely, deep, amazing relationship that she's been in long-term. And, by all sense of social media, you would think, oh my gosh, this woman is amazing. And she is amazing. She is absolutely incredible. The way she sees the world, the way she talks about the world, the way she connects to people from all kinds of cultures around the world. And so it was interesting for me to hear that this woman, this amazing woman, struggles with a sense of self-worth. So the reason that she set up the call, so the presenting material, how she presented in this session, is she came in and she said, Natalie, I don't know what it is, but I'm having trouble getting out of bed. I feel like I'm off mission. I feel like I don't know what to do with myself. And I think I don't even know if what I'm doing is worthwhile. And maybe I should change or be different. I don't I'm struggling with who I am. I'm struggling with what I do in the world, and I just don't feel like it adds value. And so I asked a little bit more about that so I could really understand. And the statement that she made hit me between the eyes. It was so profound, and I want to share it with you and see if you can relate to this at all. She said to me, Natalie, the reason that my self-worth gets shaky is because I don't have words to accurately describe what I do as a service, what I do for my clients, what I do on teams, what I do in the world. I don't have a lot of words for that. And because I can't explain it to people in a way that they understand, it feels worthless. I'm going to say it again for the people in the back. Because I can't explain in a way they'll understand what I do, who I am, I feel worthless. There was something about that that hit a part of me that was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly it. She had put words to a feeling, an idea that had been kind of anchored into the universe out there and kind of niggling away at some of us. And so it was such a powerful statement because she couldn't explain and have words for what she does as her business, as a healer, as an advocate, as a philanthropist, as all these things. She didn't feel like it added value. Now, I think many of you might be feeling that way because if you're listening to this podcast, you're in a world that is filled with energy, that is filled with talk of past lives or talk of destiny lines or talk of spirit, talk of dreams, talk of destiny and our fears and our souls. And I'll tell you what, a lot of people don't like talking about that stuff, or maybe they yearn to talk about those things and don't feel safe or don't know how or haven't been invited to talk about those things. But for whatever reason, many people who listen to this podcast feel as if they're in the minority. And I get it. And I'm going to tell you, I think that's shifting. I think that consciousness on the planet is experiencing a great flowering. So we're going to have a flowering of consciousness and depth and understanding that is going to start shifting the way we rely on words. And that's just an intuition that I have based on a few dreams that I've had, a few conversations I've had with wise people. So we're in the middle of this right now. We are in the middle of this transition of all kinds. And so onward, let's go to the next phase of the session. So she nailed it, what was really happening inside her. And she could feel like this tension in her chest and this kind of like nauseousness in her guts. And this is the place in the body where she was kind of holding the sense of worthlessness, of no value. And so rather than run away from the no value or start to try to fix it, the way shamanic coaching is a little bit different if you haven't experienced it, is that shamanic coaching will stay in the dirt. It'll stay in the uncomfortable place much longer than most people and hold space for that heavier energy to truly reveal as much as is possible in the given day. And so as we held space together for this worthlessness to kind of bubble up out of the guts and bubble up out of the chest and the tension in the chest. And she started to put colors to it, like a dark, sticky tar, like a green foam. And so this energy and these descriptors that she was creating about how this energy felt in her body, the sticky tar and the green foam, and these energies started to kind of bubble up into her energy field. And tears started to spring from her eyes. And we just started to clear out all this heaviness, all this judgment of one way is good and another way is bad. One way is better than, and one way is less than. And she was caught in this place of judgment, of harsh judgment for herself, of also perhaps some judgment from the culture, but most of the judgment that was really agonizing was this judgment that she had learned in her history, that she had learned from her culture, and it was inside of her. And so we started to clear out all this foam, all this dark, sticky tar, all that energy that was around judging herself as bad, as worthless, because she couldn't find words, because she couldn't explain the value in what she did. And so we breathed and extracted these energies for about 5-10 minutes. And something amazing started to happen. She went down into the darkness rather than running away from and just like yanking it out. She went down into the darkness until there was nowhere else to go, and then popped through a little veil at the bottom of this darkness. So this is why we hold space for it in shamanic coaching, because every other therapist has gotten to that uncomfortable place, and maybe they've bailed. Maybe they haven't gone all the way down into the depths, but immediately began to look for ways to extract it all right now. So as we were extracting, she was going deeper and deeper and deeper down into this darkness until she hit the bottom of it and then walked through a little doorway. And do you know what was on the other side of that doorway? The cosmos. The darkest dark there is, the nothingness that is space. And all of the stars and galaxies and constellations and planets, all of these things were revealed to her. And so I asked her, what does that mean for you? And she didn't have words. She was having, these tears of joy now, kind of tearing up and coming out of the sides of her eyes. And she realized that there were no words. And she said, I don't have words. And I said, okay, and how does that impact your value? And the insight that she had was that her value was cosmic. It was so big. The value she adds to this planet was cosmic, on a cosmic level, is the value that she carries. And it was so big that bringing it into this tiny little one planet, bringing it down from the great big cosmos into this tiny little planet, that some people here didn't speak that language yet. But for the people that understand this cosmic value, they can look in her eyes. They can see the safe space that she holds, the sacred space that she holds, the depth of wisdom that she carries. And they don't need a lot of words. They just need a little, because they speak her language. So this cosmic worthiness is something that I want to offer every single person listening, because you're not listening to this podcast unless you're a little stardust wrapped in a meat suit right now. And you have an awareness of that we come from the stars. Our bones, our energy has been around a long time. The elements that make a human life and animate a human life have been a part of the cosmos forever, since the dawn of time. And so it makes sense to me in a logical construct that we would have a deep connection to the stars, to the cosmos, to space, to the universe, because we are made of that. And there are so many different things we'll have to talk about in a different podcast, but there are so many signals and signs in our own physical bodies that mirror the shape and nature of the cosmos, of the universe. And yes, we are a microcosm of that universe. And so I wonder if it's possible for you to start to characterize the value you have in the world as so immense that it doesn't have words in this realm yet, because we are still evolving linguistically. And so the value that we add, especially when we don't have words for what we do, if you're a shamanic coach or an energy healer or a joy bringer or a light worker or whatever, we have all these words, and yet it still doesn't touch the depth of impact that we are having just by being here on the planet. And so if you're struggling with that, I invite you into this idea of your cosmic worthiness, and that it is so immense that the language around it is less important than the continuing to allow it to be present in your life. Allow your worthiness to be so big, universal, that you simply need to hold it, carry it, be with it, and not abandon it. Not begin to tell the story that you're not worthy, even if other people around you are saying that you're not. We have to develop some strength. We are luminous warriors. Our only fight is against self-ignorance. We don't need to fight other people. We don't need to convert them to our way of being. We let live. However, our luminous warrior fight, where we take our sword, is to flip over the dark corners where the little stones linger and see what's underneath those stones so that we can discover more of who we are. And I'm offering this as a flip of a stone, that perhaps who you are is this luminous warrior on a scale that you can't even imagine yet. You can't even imagine it yet because these energies are newer to the planet. Some people on the planet have come to choose heavier energies to carry on the planet, and they're carrying the old paradigms of masculinity and femininity. They're carrying the old paradigms of compete and destroy. They're carrying the heavy old paradigms of judgment, of hierarchy, of better thans and worse thans and less thans and more and greed. And those energies are tremendously heavy. And the people that are carrying those energies are very sacred because they're giving those of us that came with different energies a backdrop to begin to see in a mirror our opposite or a different way, and for us to constantly choose where we want to play. We constantly need to be evaluating our values based on our relationship with spirit, however you define that. So we have to go inward right now if we're going to be successful for the next era that's coming, that is an era of higher consciousness, that is an era of more connection and collaboration and support. Then we need to know who we are and to understand how to go inside and ask ourselves the questions of how we want to be in the world. And then consciously choose that in every interaction. And it's not easy. This is the warrior part of what we do. We constantly have to discipline our minds, discipline our bodies, discipline our emotions so that we can continue to be who we want to be in this life now, and not wait until, we all get to heaven, or something happens, or we all make $1 million, or whatever it is you're waiting for. Don't wait. Embrace this cosmic worthiness right now. Right now. Like, what if it was true? See if you can find that place in you that resonates with this idea that, yeah, what I'm doing is so valuable and immense that currently there isn't a lot of language around it on the planet because it's a newer energy. That's it. It's a newer energy. It's like all of a sudden we all have to learn how to speak French. It's a strange language and we don't know how to articulate it. It's nothing more, nothing less. And it definitely has nothing to do with your worth on the planet. Your worthiness is so totally separate from what you can talk about. Your worthiness is based on other things. For me, I like to have a value, and one of the values I like to work with is leaving a place, a team, an area more connected, more authentic, more joyful than when I arrived. I want to leave my family, even more joyful than my family was growing up. I want to make my team I'm working on, even more supportive and collaborative and joyful than teams in the past. I want to make these different boards that I serve on, I want to make them more connected and authentic and joyful. And it just happens because that's who I am. It comes out of me naturally. There's no effort. And so this is how we can tell that we're living our Dharma. And your Dharma may not fit beautifully into what society expects of you or what social media is telling you need to be. You know, there's a lot of pressure on social media. I haven't been on social media a lot lately, and it's just to protect my own energy. So I don't want you to think I've forgotten about you or I'm not caring about all of you. I am. So please join our newsletter so that we can communicate more. But social media for me has become a place to explore human struggle and uplifting things. I have a lot of uplifted people in my feed, of course, but there is a lot on social media that can take us down the fear of missing out, the FOMO. It can take us down the comparison train. It can take us down the other train. And so I've just been exploring what's it like for me to get off social media and explore my own cosmic worthiness. And I'm going to tell you, my self-esteem feels so much better when I'm not on social media. I mean, I'll jump in, I'll check in on my teams and the people that are in our tribe, and then I kind of check out. I can't scroll. Scrolling and looking, it automatically starts inside me, the comparison that I need to be more, do more, have more. And I get wrapped up into that frenzy. And that frenzy is not something that works for me. For other people, they find it completely motivating. So I'm not, saying anything negative about social media, but for me, it doesn't work that well. For me, it starts me down a train track that I don't like to go. And so I have to use that as a tool and not let it use me. Because for me, one of my other values that I'm working with now I have a name for it, this sense of cosmic worthiness, is to really stay in touch with my cosmic worthiness, because we got to hang on to that tightly. Hang on to that tightly as in these times of transition, in this time of change, because we are so valuable and our energies are so new to the planet that it requires us to be patient with the people around us. That's not always my best feature. So I'm learning patience right along with all of you. And I'm sending you this message of cosmic worthiness. And I want to thank this beautiful client for having the strength to come and get support and to go all the way to the bottom of that darkness and have this breakthrough, because it is now on a podcast and it's going to influence more and more people. So her work is creating ripples in the world. And that's why the most important thing for you to be doing right now is to be doing your work. Healing your pain, healing your grief. Sit with it, be with it, break through, see what's on the other side. But don't run away from it, my friends. You are luminous warriors. You don't have to run. You can sit and be with. You're strong enough. I know it. All right, that's it from Naughty Shaman HQ, which is right now by the marsh here in Bethany Beach. And I'm sending good vibes to you all. Thank you, luminous warriors, for doing what you do. Don't give up. Keep going. Even though it doesn't look like others, even though it might not feel good right now, even though it might look like failure, it isn't. Keep going. All right. This is Natalie Carlisle signing off. Thanks for tuning in. It means so much to us. So if you have any comments about what you've been struggling with or any ideas for the podcast, I would love for you to reach out to me personally. And I would love to get your insights, because it's a magical time of being alive. All right, my friends. Ciao. If you're hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode, and for that, we are so grateful. Please reach out to us. Let us know what topics you'd like to see covered in our future episodes. Get in touch in the comments, because we love to hear from you. And you can reach us on social media.